Namaskar and welcome to Sunset Television. I am Vishal Dahiya and you're watching our show Perspective, where we bring you 360-degree holistic view of all the key issues. And today we're going to talk about the elections in Germany, the repercussions, what actually lies ahead as far as Germany is concerned, the European continent is concerned in the post-Merkel era, and obviously what is in it for us. And now, the initial, that is the preliminary official results for the German elections, the Social Democratic Party has defeated the outgoing Chancellor Angela Merkel's party, Christian Democratic Union, by a narrow margin of 1.6 percentage point. Now, the outcome of poll means that Social Democratic, with only 25.7% of the votes, must team up with other parties to form a coalition government. However, this is a complex equation that can be required in Germany to form a government, and it is easier said than done. Now, it could take considerable amount of time to achieve this target, and the winning party in the election will have the first chance to try and form this coalition government. But if it doesn't succeed, then the chance goes to the runner-up. And let's also point out that it might take at least 3 parties to form a stable government in Germany this time, which, if it happens, will be a first in the 72-year-long history of the Germany after reunification. Now, experts also say that likely combinations could include Social Democratic along with the pro-business Free Democrats and environmentalist Greens. Another option can also be led by CDU-CSU combined, that is the Conservatives, along with the Free Democratic FDP and the environmentalists. Now, the CDS-CDU combined has also governed with SPD as a junior partner in the so-called Grand Coalition in recent years, but the SDP has strongly signaled that it would now like to see the conservative bloc in opposition. The newly elected parliament in Germany, as per their laws, must hold its inaugural session in no less than 30 days after the election. With Chancellor Angela Merkel wrapping up her 16-year-long stint, this election also signaled the end of an era not only for Germany, but also for Europe. Now, for over a decade, Ms. Merkel steered the country and the continent through successive crises. Now, so what lies ahead for Germany? We'll try and discuss all aspects of this election and, of course, Angela Merkel's exit from the scene. And for more on this, we're joined by 3 distinguished experts. Let me first introduce them to you, beginning with, we have Mr. Alok Bansal. He's director of India Foundation. We're also joined by Dr. Garima Mohan. She is a fellow Asia program at German Marshall Fund in Berlin. And we're also joined by former ambassador Gurjeet Singh, who's been in Germany as India's ambassador. Welcome, all of you. Let me begin with you, Dr. Mohan, since you're sitting there in Berlin. Let's first try and understand the process, one, the results, two, and what lies ahead, what now? Because this is a fractured mandate if you're looking at election results. All possibilities of a coalition government. I was mentioning some aspects, some options which have been pointed out by analysts. But if you could make us understand in a much clearer way the finer takeaways of this election.
Thank you, Vishal. Thank you very much for having me on the show. Let's start by breaking down the election. So first of all, the most important point to remember is that this election in Germany saw a massive voter turnout. A lot of people came out, stood in queues all day long to vote, much more so than in the past. And it is because First of all, it seems like Germany is ready for change with Chancellor Merkel leaving after such a long tenure. Second, the COVID crisis, of course, has had huge implications, both in terms of health and Germany's economy. And a lot of younger people are, of course, worried about their future. And in the recent past, we also had the news of devastating floods across Germany, which really brought the issue of climate change front and center. Now, this will help us understand the election results, which, as you mentioned, have seen a lot of votes, a clear winner emerging in the center-left party of SPD, led by the Chancellor candidate, Mr. Scholz. For Chancellor Merkel's center-right party, CDU, this has been actually the worst result since World War II. They have actually gone down 14 points from 2017. So clearly, the electorate is ready for change.
Okay.
And the candidate who was succeeding Chancellor Merkel did not seem to have, much charisma.
Okay. We'll come to those options as well as to, how the coalition government can be formed there and the post-Merkel era. We'll try and analyze that. Let me bring in Ambassador Gurjeet Singh here. Ambassador Singh, you've been there, but this is now the beginning of the post-Merkel era. So in terms of trying to understand the key players in this era, if you could, throw some light on what is happening in Germany vis-a-vis these elections.
Well, I think you are in too much of a hurry to call it a post-Merkel era. My prediction is that whoever becomes chancellor, he will be a Merkel clone. And that is what both Olaf Scholz and Armin Laschet was saying throughout the campaign, that they were all like Merkel. So I think Merkel's legacy is that everybody will have to be like Merkel, middle class, self-empowered, not causing any waves, no ideology, very practical, science-based. Now, you see after the election yesterday, all the leaders of the party actually sat down to discuss everything. Now, this is unusual that they all actually sit down to think of the good of Germany. So what is going to happen now? SPD, I think, has been too long in the shadow of the CDU. 3 out of 4 Merkel terms had SPD as the junior partner. So SPD wants to step out, but they could not do well enough. I mean, they should have got 32% of the vote to be a dominant partner in a coalition.
Okay.
Today, if the Greens and the FDPs are coming together, they will become the dominant partner in any coalition. So what you are going to see is the center party. Now, I'm not calling them right or left. To me, they are both center parties, having governed for 12 out of last 16 years in Germany. They are very much similar. Now, let's see what the kingmakers do. So I think one significant point I would like to mention here. The young people of Germany have largely voted FDP, the Liberal Party.
Okay.
The people between 18 and 24, the first-time voters. The older voters, people over 65 and 70, have voted CDU. It's an inverted pyramid. Younger people, as Garima said, want change. Older people want more of the same. So I think you will get change with a small c.
Okay. That's quite a significant observation there, Mr. Bansal. I'd like to bring you in here, and also the important aspect where Ambassador Singh is saying that it's not actually literally the end of Merkel era. Merkel might not be the chancellor, but her stamp on how Germany will be governed from here onwards will still be visible. Do you agree?
See, there is no doubt that one of the reasons for CDU-CSU's defeat has been that in post-World War era, this was the first time that a sitting German chancellor was not contesting. And I think for people to imagine CDU-CSU without Merkel, probably they had no. So, as Ambassador said, SPD has also been trying to emulate Merkel. In fact, if you see in the ultimate analysis, though 1.6% vote share is different, but the number of seats is only 10. And Germany's election process is extremely complex. It doesn't even have a fixed number of seats because there are overhangs to balance the percentages, etc. It has half the seats on first past the post system and then PR and things like that. To my mind, the biggest winners in this election have been the Greens and then followed by FDP, Free Democrats. In fact, to my mind, I tend to slightly disagree with Ambassador Gurjeet. He said the youngsters have voted for FDP. I find the more youngsters have actually gravitated towards Greens. They have actually had the biggest gain as far as the number of votes are concerned, or the number of... So the devastating floods that actually affected parts of Germany have actually made youngsters look about their future, and they feel that the climate change is a very, very significant factor, because they have seen the floods which they had not seen earlier.
Indeed.
So they see that this climate needs to be. And the Greens' one-point single agenda, which has been the most dominant agenda, has been, of course, environmental issues. There are other issues also concerned with it. So eventually, it's going to be the Greens and the FDP which are going to decide.
Okay.
But also, one very, very important facet which needs to be understood is that in these elections, the far right and far left also got decimated. See, AFD, which had come out as neo-Nazis and which was being told that the rise of a return of Nazism, etc., then people said that they are probably one election phenomena. They have not actually vanished,
Okay.
but they have lost a large number of seats. And so have the far left, the communists, the left which is the former East German parties and which have come together. They have also lost a lot of weight.
Okay.
So basically, the extremist ideologies on both ends have actually been driven away. The parties which were concerned about environment and probably business have been promoted. So if you actually look at it, as the Green and FDP, which are actually far larger
Indeed.
than any of the
that also shows, you know, what exactly is high on the priority of the voters, of a priority of the citizens of Germany as well. Now, that's a very interesting observation coming in from both Ambassador Singh and Mr. Bansal as well. Dr. Mohan, you know, if we have to understand it further and if we have to, you know, analyze it further, the big question is, although the complex election process apart, the big question is, who goes with whom in this, you know, fractured mandate out there? And as Ambassador Singh was referring to how the younger voters, how the elder voters have behaved, that would have a lot of, you know, impact or effect on how the parties bind together as well, because they have their agenda. They will have to live up to their agenda as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I won't be in the business of predicting coalitions in Germany because that is extremely difficult. The negotiations are very drawn out and it's hard to predict. However, a lot of people are now leaning towards an SPD, Greens, and FDP sort of coalition. As the previous two speakers have mentioned, the Greens and FDP have gotten a lot of younger voters to come out. But I have to say the Greens are not just about climate change. In fact, their foreign policy agenda has been the most progressive and radical agenda so far. They're very tough on China. They have tough lines on Russia, and the Greens in any coalition would most likely want to get the foreign ministry. So that is something important to understand. How the coalition works is that different coalition partners get different ministries. The FDP might get the finance ministry, the Greens will get the foreign ministry. So in my opinion, since these two parties are kingmakers, they will also actually constrain how much of a choice the new chancellor will be able to make. And there, I don't think it will be Merkel 2.0 or 4.0, however you count it. It won't be a continuation of Merkel because the path for choices is actually quite constrained. And a lot of the new parties, the younger voters, want difficult, more tougher policy on China. They want Germany to be thinking about the future. They want Germany to take more radical stances on, you know, technology, innovation, the future of the country, as well as the European Union.
Okay. And Mr. Singh, you know, two options. One, obviously, being led by the SDP, which has got the highest number of votes there. If they fail to make it, then CDS and CSU, the Conservatives, will obviously want to go ahead and come back into the game. But there is a possibility which is being talked about a third option as well, the grand coalition, which you know, you were earlier referring to, with CDS, CSU plus SDP both, along with perhaps maybe Greens or the FDP also. Is that also, can that also be a reality?
So I would like to first preface by saying two things. I don't think anybody has lost this election so far. Anybody can form a government out of the four leading parties, because that's the system. Secondly, when you look at the FDP and the Greens, in 2017, both were invited by the CDU to be part of government. They messed up and now they realize it. So today, I think they are being sensible by first talking to each other, because the contradictions are between them, not with the SPD or the CDU. Once the Greens and the FDP resolve their agenda, they can actually align with either one and make them lead the government. Now, coming to this whole issue about Green and how popular they are, yes, they've almost doubled their vote share from 2017. But they are 10% lower than May and June this year when they announced Baerbock as their candidate. The moment they announced their candidate till now, 10% drop in vote. So I think the German people are ready to support the Greens, but don't want them in a leadership role.
Okay.
Chancellor Merkel was always called the climate chancellor and did nothing for the climate in Germany. So I don't think German industry and everybody is ready for this great climate action.
Okay.
This is where the Greens are going to get into trouble, because they want to unite an environmental ministry, bring in transportation, industry, all under the Green ministry. FDP will never agree to this. So there has to be a massive dose of realism between these two parties. And if they agree, you will have a coalition with either SPD or CDU, whoever offers them more.
Okay. So that is the realistic situation there on the ground. And clearly, all political parties have their own agendas, and contradictions therein might prevent them from coming back again. But let's move on to, one or two other aspects of the change which we are witnessing in Germany, Mr. Bansal. And let's start by understanding the impact it will have on the European continent as a whole. You spoke about Germany, what people want. It's reflected in the way they voted. How, this post-Merkel Germany, where Merkel is not going to be the chancellor, how will that impact Europe as a continent?
Before I come to that, I just wanted to answer one question which you had asked, Ambassador Gurjit, was that can there be a grand coalition?
Okay.
CDU, CSU and SPD. To my mind, it's very unlikely, because SPD realized that last time they went into a grand coalition, they lost heavily. In fact, they faced their worst defeat, in fact, at the post. So they've realized that aligning with the CDU, CSU, they have a lot to lose. And that's why they actually moved to the opposition space, and they have been doing. Now, how it will impact the Europe as a whole? Now, we need to understand that there is, of course, a mild left-wing swing. Norwegian party came to power, which is actually center-left. Even US President Biden's is seen as left of center, the Democrat victory. So in the Western world now, after there is a slight left-wing shift, I don't see EU would have a major impact. But again, as Garima said, if the Greens get foreign ministry, you would see a certain definite. Please understand, this is also very important, because I remember a few decades back, there was a time when FDP used to have the foreign minister consistently. There was a time when they had an FDP ensured that their leader was the foreign minister for a very, very long period of time. Now, if Greens are going to insist, it will have. See, Germany is the biggest power in European Union. So what happens in Germany will definitely impact European Union to some extent or the other. In the foreseeable future, I don't see very drastic changes as far as Euro. Not many of them are Eurosceptics, as you would say. So I think SPD and CDU have both been committed to European Union. To my mind, I don't see very drastic changes. And FDP is pro-industries. For them, I think EU is a positive thing. It's only the Greens and their insistence on climate issues which could be a disruptor in some of these issues. Another factor which probably will have to be taken is none of these parties are drastically opposed to immigration as AFD was. Like none of them are so radically opposed to that sort of a demographic invasion or something. So to my mind, I don't visualize immediate drastic changes. But as she has said, if Greens have the foreign ministry, you would see that impact both with Russia and China. And both these countries are very, very important as far as Germany.
Okay, that's a very important aspect there. But Dr. Mohan, with the Merkel not being there, and the reason why I'm putting it out here is because, she had acquired a stature at the international platforms, especially at, the European Union level. The new chancellor, whosoever he or she will be, that he or she will find it a little difficult to go ahead and, fill in the shoes of one, Merkel, and two, carry forward that new agenda which he will come up with, because it's going to be a coalition government at the end of it.
I mean, Germany has always had coalition governments, but you're right. Chancellor Merkel had a long time to establish her legacy. She had uninterrupted years of working in Germany. She also managed to find a way to work with Mr. Putin, and she had quite a, in terms of diplomacy, she had managed to cut out a path for herself, actually juggling different world leaders and different priorities, also steering Europe in a certain direction. So, of course, whoever comes next has big shoes to fill. Mr. Scholz, on the other hand, is an established figure both in German and European politics. So I think he would have an easier time. Okay. Of course, the possibility of having any other, like Greens or whatever chancellor, is out of the window. Miss Annalena Baerbock, the leader of the Greens, she was relatively young, and I think the electorate didn't really work in that favor. Mr. Laschet, who is the candidate of the CDU to succeed Chancellor Merkel, actually the loss of the party is a resounding statement that he did not quite live up to Chancellor Merkel's stature and her ability to pull together different strands of politics in Germany. What she did was she didn't just attract the voters from her own party. Okay. She also succeeded in attracting voters on the left and the right, both together. And this will be a big chance for any big challenge, for any chancellor going forward.
Indeed, challenge and a lot of opportunities there as well, for whosoever is going to be at the helm of affairs out there. And Mr. Singh, not only from the European Union's perspective or from Europe as a continent from their perspective, but the larger question for us to also understand is how will it impact us, India-Germany relations, and the way there are several aspects of this bilateral cooperation or relationship. How do you think things moving ahead from here onwards with these changes coming in?
So just one clarification. Armin Laschet has been a member of the European Parliament. So though he's only a regional president, he's actually been an MEP. So he knows the European Union a bit more than others. Now, coming to your specific question. Angela Merkel set up the Intergovernmental Commission with India in 2011 and never missed a meeting of this biannual forum. This biannual forum is now supposed to meet later this year with the new Chancellor and Prime Minister Modi. I think that will be now a new defining moment on how Germany engages India under a new leadership. Okay. Secondly, while Germany was always committed to India through Merkel in a ODA sense, but FDI and business was never put India on priority because China was always their priority image. And China always treated Merkel as their best friend in Europe. Even till last month, President Xi was calling her to tell the Europeans that we are not inimical to you. Okay. Now, if that link is broken, I think it is good for us because we want Germany to realize, like the United States realizes, that we are an open liberal society who wants to work with you for the common good, as Prime Minister Modi recently told the Quad. And I think that is where we need to take this Merkel legacy forward with the new Chancellor. Okay, indeed. Mr. Bansal, your concluding comments there on this specific question, and as Mr. Singh has elaborated on that, do you agree with him that now is the chance here for the new Chancellor, for the new government in place, to take this Merkel legacy forward, take it one more step ahead and enrich the bilateral cooperation much further, because both nations, that is India and Germany, do complement each other in various aspects?
I think it's a right opportunity for India to draw FDI from Germany at this point of time, with if Greens are going to be in government, which in all probability seems likely, and they would be fiercely anti-China. You could see some of the FDI that we have been trying to draw in from other countries coming to India. Greens, because of their peculiar foreign policies issues, could also have certain pinpricks as far as India-German relations are concerned that we need to be careful about. But I think even FDP, I think now should want to move Germany away from China, because Chinese products pose a threat to German dominance as far as the European market is concerned to a very great extent. And as I said, at this stage, when the situation is fluid, to my mind, India-German relations should improve, and if India-Germany relations improve, India-EU relations would improve, because what happens between India and Germany will shape as far as India's relations with EU are concerned.
Okay, so there it is. Thank you so much, Mr. Alok Bansal, Dr. Garima Mohan, and Mr. Gurjeet Singh there as well for your views and inputs. As our experts were pointing out, this is the detailed analysis of elections in Germany, how actually it has happened, what are the results, key takeaways, how will it affect not only Germany but also Europe as a continent and our relations with Germany, as Garima was pointing out that it is going to be some time before we get to know who forms the government, but there are a lot of opportunities and of course challenges as well. We'll come back again tomorrow with a different topic. Till then, keep watching Sunset Television. Thank you.